The night enveloped the city, and the stage lights gradually faded, returning peace to Taylor Swift's vast room. She stood still, gazing out the window where the darkened night only revealed the distant, flickering lights of the city. The surrounding space seemed to suddenly become suffocatingly silent, and within Taylor, a heavy feeling began to rise. What she was experiencing felt like a nightmare. The night before, she had just finished a grand performance, but by this morning, everything had changed. Everything she had built over the years was slowly crumbling. A group of hackers had attacked her system, leaking personal information and making her the focal point of public debates, with rumors and criticisms coming from all directions. The feeling of loss overwhelmed her, not only because of the private secrets exposed, but also because of the betrayal from fans, those she had once considered companions. Amidst the applause and stage lights, she was now left with nothing but loneliness and confusion. It felt as though everything had collapsed in an instant. Taylor sat down in the armchair in the living room, her hands trembling as she held her phone. Messages and calls kept coming in from her management, lawyers, and even close friends. She couldn't concentrate, her mind was foggy, and her eyes stared blankly at the phone screen, but she lacked the strength to respond. What should I do now? Taylor wondered, then turned away, her eyes filled with tears, yet unable to cry anymore. She didn't have the strength to do so. A sudden idea flashed in her mind. She remembered the times President Donald Trump had appeared in public, his face resolute, fearless. She had heard about him, about the powerful strategies and decisions he had made. And in this moment of desperation, she realized that perhaps only he could help her escape this situation. President Trump, she whispered. He could help me. Without hesitation, Taylor immediately dialed Trump's number, even though she had no idea how he would respond. She had no other option but to try. Taylor sat still in the dark room, the dim light from a lone desk lamp casting shadows on her face, creating a heavy darkness. Each of her breaths grew more rapid, suffocating, as if the air in the room was slowly depleting. She knew she couldn't go on like this forever. She was used to fighting against the public's attention and pressure, but this time, the feeling of the public's judgment pulling her under was strong and uncontrollable. As she picked up her phone, a call from an unfamiliar number made her hesitate. She stared at the screen for a moment before deciding to answer. On the other end was a woman's voice, gentle yet decisive. Miss Taylor Swift, I'm Emma, President Trump's secretary. He just received your request. He will take the call now. A shiver ran through Taylor's body. She hadn't expected to get attention from someone as powerful as Donald Trump, but if anyone could help her escape this situation, it was him. Her heart pounded as she held the phone tightly. On the other end, Trump's voice came through, calm and unfazed. Taylor, I've heard about what's going on with you. This isn't the first time I've seen scandals like this, but you need to know one thing. Big stars, when attacked, have a tremendous opportunity to show their strength. Taylor could feel the determination in his voice, and a part of her suddenly sparked with hope. But the anxiety still lingered. What she needed wasn't just advice, but a concrete plan, a strong strategy. I don't know what to do anymore, Mr. President. Everything is falling apart. I can't lose everything I've built. Trump's voice echoed again, this time more serious. You need to be more resilient. Don't let the bad people take away what you've built. We won't just passively deal with this. I'll help you create a media strategy so you can regain control. But the most important thing is that you have to believe in yourself. Taylor exhaled deeply, trying to contain the emotions rising within her. But Trump's words were truly effective. In that moment, she realized she was ready to face this challenge. The dark thoughts in her mind began to dissipate. She couldn't let others decide her fate. She had to rise up, fight to protect what she had given. So what do I do? Taylor asked, her heart full of determination. Trump didn't answer immediately, but there was a long pause, as if it stretched on forever. Finally, he spoke. I'll send a team of media strategy experts to work with you to create a powerful public campaign. You need to make the public see that the information is false, and most importantly, you need to regain control of yourself. A strange, powerful feeling surged through Taylor's body. She thought about the tough years, about all the times she had fought to stand strong. This time would be no different. She would win. Thank you, Mr. President. I won't let you down. Trump chuckled lightly, a confident and powerful smile in his voice. I know you can do it. Now, We'll get started right away. Be prepared. Everything is just beginning." The phone call ended, and Taylor felt an odd sensation rise in her chest. The broken pieces of her life seemed to start coming together, although she knew the road ahead would be tough. She stood up, walked out of the room, and looked out the window. The night sky was still calm, but in her heart, a fire had begun to burn. Meanwhile, at the White House, Trump had just hung up. He stared out the window, his gaze sharp and determined. For him, situations like this were nothing new. He knew that, in this world, the strong and resilient would always find a way to overcome the storms. And Taylor Swift, with her talent and influence, would certainly do that. "This is just one of the challenges. But she'll get through it," Trump murmured, his eyes gleaming with unwavering confidence. With the help of President Trump, Taylor began preparing for a major media battle. She knew victory wouldn't come easily, but she was ready to face it. What she needed now was patience and a clear plan. That evening, Taylor sat back in her room, looking at the computer screen. The news on social media continued to cover the scandal, but she no longer felt the pressure she had before. She had made her decision, and now it was time to act. This time, Taylor Swift would not be defeated. She would fight and reclaim what she had lost. And with the support of President Trump, she knew she would have the opportunity to rewrite her story once again. The scene at the White House the next morning was starkly different from the quiet atmosphere Taylor was experiencing in her room. The White House was like a hub of plans and tense meetings. Entering President Trump's office, Taylor felt everything around her was too big, too powerful. A part of her wanted to give up, but another part urged her to stay strong. Donald Trump sat behind his large desk, his eyes cold and full of authority. His advisors were standing around, discussing strategies for an unexpected crisis. But as Taylor entered, all eyes turned to her. No one spoke. Only the sound of her footsteps echoed on the shiny wooden floor. "Please, take a seat, Taylor." Trump spoke with no hesitation, his gaze locked on hers, full of expectation. Taylor nodded, walked to the chair opposite him, and sat down. She felt the eyes of the people in the room on her, and it was an incredibly strange feeling. It seemed as though these people weren't just watching a fallen star, but someone who would have to do something monumental to rise again. Trump looked at her, his sharp eyes showing no sympathy. He didn't care about her nervousness or anxiety. He only cared about how to get everything back on track. "Do you know what is most important right now?" Trump asked, his eyes still fixed on Taylor. She looked at him, feeling that each of his words carried a tremendous weight. She thought for a moment before responding. "It's to make the public believe that I'm innocent and that there's nothing wrong." Trump nodded, but didn't seem surprised. She could only hear a sigh from one of his advisors, as though they had heard this answer too many times before. "That's right, but it's not the most important thing." The room fell silent, and Taylor didn't understand his point. Trump continued, his tone even colder. "The most important thing right now is to rebuild your image, but you have to make the public feel that you are a person of power, that you can control the situation. If they think you're weak, they will take advantage of you. They will push you into a corner." Trump's words hit her like hammer blows. She realized that this wasn't the time to back down, not the time to let others see her as a victim. But the next question made her think. "So, what do I need to do to regain control?" Trump looked at her, his expression serious but also filled with trust. "First, you need a strong media strategy. We're not just going to dismiss the misinformation, but we're going to flip the script and turn it into an advantage. You need to make the public feel that you are the one with power in the very stories they're talking about you." Taylor listened intently. She wasn't a weak person, and she knew that once she made up her mind, she wouldn't back down. Even though she wasn't an expert in this area, there was something in Trump's words that made her listen and trust him. "You have a strong media team, right?" Trump continued, his gaze lighting up as if he knew everything. Taylor nodded, feeling a bit more confident. The people in the room began to move, as if they too were ready for the strategies Trump had outlined. She felt the change in the atmosphere, from tension to a meticulous preparation. A plan was beginning to take shape. "We'll start by preparing a strong message for you to speak out. You need to make the public understand that those who want to destroy you are deliberately creating a false narrative. You have to put them on the defensive." One of Trump's advisors, a woman with brown hair, leaned forward, holding a thick stack of documents. She opened the papers and placed them on the table. "These are the media strategies we've considered. We can start with a declaration video where you don't just talk about what's happening, but also show your strength, your power. You won't just deny the misinformation, but you'll turn it into an opportunity to assert yourself. Taylor felt a surge of emotion she didn't expect to feel in this situation. She began to see the problem not just as a survival battle, but as an opportunity to show her mettle. And in that moment, she knew that not only would she rise from this crisis, but she would come out stronger. I'm ready. I want to do this. Trump looked at her and then smiled lightly, the smile of a man who had won many battles. He knew that, with someone like Taylor Swift, if anyone could overcome this challenge, it was her. We'll start right away. But remember one thing, Taylor. This is a battlefield. There's no place for weakness. Taylor nodded, her eyes filled with determination. She was no longer the one standing on the sidelines. She would be the one to win this story. The next morning, Taylor woke up early, her mind filled with mixed thoughts. She couldn't imagine how her life would change now. But one thing she knew for sure, she had to do everything to rise again, no matter what was happening. She had lost too much, and now there was only one path left, to fight. When Taylor arrived at the White House, the atmosphere was completely different from the grand ceremonies or famous events she had been part of before. Everything felt both solemn and tense, making her feel like she no longer recognized herself. But she knew, now was not the time to back down. She was led into President Trump's office. The space around her was a blend of the majesty of power and the ceaseless hustle of advisors. Donald Trump was standing alone, as if he had prepared for everything that was about to happen. He looked up as she entered, his gaze filled with determination and confidence. Taylor, I'm glad you're here. She felt his words weren't just a greeting, but a strong encouragement. Trump smiled, but it wasn't the usual joyful smile. It was a smile full of strategy. Are you ready? Trump asked, his voice full of power. Taylor nodded, feeling her determination surge. She sat down in the chair opposite him, her eyes never leaving his throughout their conversation. All attention was on her. We don't have much time, Taylor. Those who are trying to bring you down are waiting for a mistake. They want you to be weak. They want you to fail. But if you can stand strong, they won't be able to do anything to you. Trump's words echoed powerfully in her mind. She felt each word strike her consciousness, sparking new energy in her body. She couldn't let herself be defeated. She couldn't fail. Trump continued. You can start with a powerful message. A public declaration video where you not only explain what happened, but also prove that you are in control of the situation. We will use all media channels, from TV to social media. You need to stand up, not just to counter the criticisms, but to reaffirm your power. Taylor listened intently. She hadn't imagined she would return to this world, but now, she was ready. She had been through so much in her career to give up easily. And this time, she wouldn't fail. Trump's face grew serious. The video must be made today. We don't have time to delay. You need to prove to everyone that they were wrong to think you would fall. Everyone in the room was silent, as if waiting for a signal from Taylor. She understood that this wasn't just an ordinary message. This was a battle. She wouldn't just fight to protect her reputation. It was a fight to assert herself. I'll do it, Taylor replied, her voice firm and confident. This time, she felt as though she truly had control. No one could take this power from her. She was ready to face anyone who dared challenge her. At that moment, one of Trump's advisors, the woman with brown hair, approached and handed her a tablet. On the screen was a detailed plan for the declaration video and how to deliver messages through various media outlets. You'll need to make sure this video is both powerful and emotional. The public needs to feel that you are not a victim, but a winner, the advisor added. Taylor didn't just sit back and listen anymore. She began to think about what she would say in the video. She didn't just want to refute the false information. She wanted to make a strong statement, a declaration that she was still herself, someone who stands firm, even when everything around her collapses. She pictured herself in the video, no signs of panic or fear. She would stand there, resolute, with a strong gaze, sending the message that she had overcome challenges throughout her career, and this time would be no different. She would not let the bad people decide her future. When the meeting ended, Taylor felt as though she had just stepped into a new world. A world where she was no longer an outsider, but a leader. Every step she took had to have purpose. Every word she spoke had to be strategic. And she knew that this battle had just begun. The morning after the meeting, Taylor woke up with a strange feeling. Everything was ready. She had made her decision. Today, she would not only refute all the false information but also reclaim control of the narrative. President Trump had given her the confidence, and the media team he had set up for her had been working tirelessly through the night. Every detail had been meticulously planned. Now, it was Taylor's turn to speak out. She looked at the draft of the speech her team had prepared. Every word was carefully chosen, every sentence powerful yet sincere. It wasn't just a message of denial. It was a strong affirmation that she was still Taylor Swift, and no one could diminish her value or career. She recalled all the times she had stood on stage, receiving the love of millions of fans. But this time, the stage wasn't a music festival or a performance filled with applause. This time, her stage was a vast space where she would face those who were trying to tear her down. She took a deep breath, adjusting the sleek black business attire she had worn for the meeting today. This wasn't the Taylor of glamorous parties or glittering gowns on the red carpet. This was the Taylor of resilience, a woman determined to overcome every storm. She could feel every nerve in her body tense, but inside, she was ready. Trump's media team had prepared a powerful video statement, which would be released across all media platforms later that day. But it didn't stop there. They had also planned to launch a coordinated media campaign, including interviews, social media posts, and official statements from her collaborators. Taylor knew that if she just released a video and waited, she would never regain control. She had to lead the campaign. She had to be the one to control the story. As she arrived at the studio to record the video statement, Taylor felt a bit nervous. But as she stepped into the room with the bright lights and the camera ready, she realized one thing. She wasn't just standing in front of a camera. She was standing before an opportunity to reclaim her position. The camera began rolling, and she took a deep breath, starting her statement. Hello, everyone. I'm Taylor Swift, and I want to speak directly to you about what's been happening. Honestly, none of us can avoid hardships in life. But what I'm facing is not a personal challenge. This is a fight for the truth. She looked straight into the camera, not a trace of fear or hesitation in her eyes. Her gaze was intense, and she continued. All the false information being spread is meant to diminish me, but I will not allow that to happen. I'm standing here not because I'm under attack, but because I want to prove that everything I've done throughout my career is the truth, that it is who I really am. I am Taylor Swift, and no one can decide who I am, except for me. Her words were powerful and certain. The production team, the people standing around the camera, were all still. All eyes were on her. She continued. Those who are trying to hurt me will not succeed. What I've done and what I'm doing is not just for myself, but for all of you. Those who have always stood by me, believed in me, and supported me. You don't deserve to hear lies. And I will do everything to protect what we've built together. When the video ended, her hand still held the mic, but inside, she felt a sense of peace. She had said everything that needed to be said. She knew she wasn't just standing up for herself, but for all those who had always loved her and believed in her. The media team immediately released the video on major platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Within hours, the video statement had garnered millions of views and comments. People began to feel the strength in Taylor's words, and public support slowly began to return. The criticisms from the public were no longer as strong, replaced by overwhelming support from her fans and those who had always believed in her. Less than a day later, Taylor received a call from Donald Trump. His voice came through the phone, no longer with the formality he had before, but with pride. Good job, Taylor. You did great. I didn't just see you standing up for yourself, but for everything you've built. You've proven that. Taylor felt a wave of pride and happiness wash over her. She knew she had done the right thing. And more than that, she had regained her strength. Nothing could stop her when she was determined to fight. With this counter-strategy, Taylor not only refuted the false information but also reaffirmed her power. She knew this battle wasn't over, but she was prepared to face whatever challenge came her way. After Taylor's declaration video was released, everything seemed to move faster than she expected. Supportive and critical comments flooded social media platforms, but the most important thing was the positive responses from her fans. Those who had always stood by her, those who had believed in her throughout her long journey, were no longer swayed by rumors. They stood with her. They protected her. A sense of pride swelled within Taylor, and she knew she had done the right thing. That night, as she returned to the hotel after a long day of interviews, her phone vibrated again. It was a message from Trump. You did very well. But now is the time to take action. We need to make those who attacked you pay the price. A wave of tension washed over Taylor once again. She thought about those who had tried to bring her down, those who had made her live in confusion for weeks. But she was no longer the weak girl she once was. She had grown and realized that to win, it wasn't just about strength, but about calculation and a clear strategy. She sat down, scrolling through comments on social media. A sense of joy surged as she saw thousands still standing firm with her, the hashtag I stand with Taylor filling every platform. Her eyes lit up, and for the first time in the past week, she felt a sense of peace. She knew she wasn't alone. But that wasn't enough. Taylor was aware that to win in the long term, she needed to truly take control, not just in interviews or videos. She needed to take the next steps to fully restore her image while making those who had caused harm pay the consequences. The next morning, she called Trump's team, asking them to prepare for a major campaign, not just on media platforms but through face-to-face meetings as well. She needed to meet with influencers, people she could reach to generate strong support from all sides. We will not just stop the rumors, we'll hit back hard at the people behind them. I want to know everyone involved in this and make them pay, Taylor said, her voice full of determination. One of Trump's advisors, who had supported her throughout the counter-strategy, suggested a private meeting with a few influential media figures. This was an opportunity for Taylor to show her strength once again and generate an even stronger wave of support. When the meeting with the media figures began, Taylor walked into the room with a very different mindset. She was no longer the worried woman trying to protect herself. She was a warrior, ready to fight not only for herself but also for those who had always supported her. The reporters looked at her with curiosity. They were used to the image of Taylor, the gentle singer, always clean-cut and never involved in any controversy. But today, Taylor didn't appear embarrassed or anxious. She stood there, looking at them with a determined and confident gaze. I stand before you today to say one thing clearly. What has happened to me is not an accident. It's a strategy. A strategy to bring me down. But I've overcome it. I will not allow anyone to continue hurting me or those I love, Taylor said, her voice deep but full of weight. The reporters began taking notes, their gazes starting to change. It felt like a new wave was rising in the room. The questions now were no longer hostile but were inquiries seeking to understand her counter-strategy. Taylor had earned their respect, not through flowery words, but through her actions and resilience. When the meeting ended, she received agreement from the reporters that they would not just report on the incident from one side, but would provide information in a fair and objective manner. She had regained control, not just in the public's eye but also in the media. On her way back to the hotel, her phone vibrated again. This time, it was from a longtime friend in the music industry who had been following her recovery process. Taylor, I'm so proud of you. I knew you would make it. Taylor looked at the phone screen, a small smile forming on her lips. She had done it. And this time, no one could take her power away. She had weathered the storm, and now she stood firm, stronger than ever. In the days following Taylor's counterattack strategy, the situation began to shift dramatically. Her declaration video continued to spread widely across media platforms, and public opinion gradually turned in her favor. Criticism no longer focused on her, but instead, it began to target those behind the attack. The hackers, the ones who had tried to manipulate the public, were now facing strong backlash from the public. Under Taylor's leadership, things started to move in the right direction. Each day, Taylor received countless messages and comments from fans, from those who had stood by her for years. They called for justice, demanding severe action against those who had attempted to bring her down. This wasn't just the restoration of Taylor Swift's reputation, but a victory for truth and resilience. One morning, as Taylor sat in her hotel room, looking out the window and sipping her coffee, she received a call from Donald Trump. By now, she no longer felt tense or worried, because she knew that this time, her battle was nearly over. Taylor, you've done very well. Your image is being rebuilt stronger than ever, Trump's voice came through on the phone. I'm very proud of you. The people who wanted to bring you down are now on the defensive. But I know we need to keep up the momentum. Taylor smiled, her eyes lighting up as if a fire was burning within her. Thank you, Mr. President. But I know this isn't just my victory. This is the victory of all those who have always believed in me, protected me, and stood by me throughout this journey. Taylor replied, a sense of pride rising in her. She had learned that when she was determined and acted decisively, nothing could stop her. Soon after, Taylor stood on stage once again, this time at a large charity event she had planned beforehand. That night, the stage lights shone brightly, and the applause of thousands of audience members filled the air. She could clearly feel the love from everyone, but this time, everything was different. There was no more pressure from public opinion, No more rumors or attacks. She stood there, not only for herself, but for the values she had always believed in. She was no longer just an artist. She was someone with strength, someone capable of facing the greatest challenges. In her speech, Taylor thanked everyone who had stood by her during the tough days. She reminded the audience that her career was not just about successes, but also about fighting and rising from failures. She wanted to inspire those who were struggling, showing them that no matter the obstacles, as long as they remained strong and never gave up, everything could change. I stand here today to tell you all that I am not just Taylor Swift, a singer. I am a winner, and I will never give up. We must always be strong in the face of challenges, and I am proud to stand before you. Because we, all of us, can overcome anything. Taylor said, her voice resonating with confidence and resilience. The audience clapped enthusiastically, as if everyone was standing with her, feeling the power of her words. She realized that not only the public but also those who had tried to push her down had to understand one important thing. Taylor Swift was not someone who could easily be defeated. Nothing could break her when she was fighting for what she believed in. After that night, Taylor continued to fight, not just to protect her reputation but also to serve as a role model for those who needed encouragement. She shared valuable lessons about facing crises, about resilience, and never giving up. Her media strategies not only helped her weather the storm but also helped her connect more deeply with her fans and the community. In a short amount of time, Taylor's career was not only restored but also elevated to new heights. She became a symbol of overcoming adversity and victory, not only in music but in life. Her fans loved her not only for her talent but also for the determination and resilience she had shown. With the help of Trump and his team, Taylor regained not just her reputation but also her self-confidence and power. She had weathered the storm and stood strong, stronger than ever.